Apologies, Commander. I was unable to animate a trailer for the next challenge run. Wait. We're receiving a transmission from the Empire of the Rising Sun. Patching it through.
Your intellect is as weak as your dollar. Failure is your destiny. You disrespect yourself and your nation. You are made of stupid.
Welcome back, Commander. The objectives are as follows. Use infantry only for combat, if infantry lack anti-air capabilities. Anti-air turrets are authorized, or just let your allies do the job. If needed, transports are authorized, but no fighting. As a new officer, the run will be done on medium. Sounds impossible, but High Command has faith in your skills, so I digress. Good luck. Please note that each campaign is a separate branch in the timeline, with the Allied campaign considered the canon storyline. We begin operations with the Soviet campaign. Following Tim Curry's journey back through time, by erasing Einstein from existence, he not only guaranteed the survival of the USSR, but he also somehow erased Oppenheimer, the Manhattan Project, and all nukes from existence. Also, Japan.
You will bow before us, or you will cease to exist.
The Japanese are launching an attack on the city of Leningrad. Thankfully, with our commando Natasha, things should be fine. Now, one might object to using airstrikes in this challenge. But as you can see, these aren't airstrikes. These are planes launched from Natasha's gun to bomb targets. Sounds fairly infantry to me. Alongside gun-toting conscripts and flak troopers, they hold the fortress with some help from Oleg, a jolly man whose actor, how do I put this, had cooked rabbit and too much medicine. Look him up. It's weird. To save a museum, I do have to use bullfrogs to launch Natasha across. As per rule number 4, if I need boats, I'll use them. While the Japanese deploy battleships using the expert tactic of shooting planes from guns, I send their fleet down under. Unfortunately, the Empire continues its march to Moscow. To halt them, I need to secure the launch site of Krasna 45. What's that? This isn't the start of the mission. There's a whole segment with spider mechs that shoot while moving. Ridiculous. My co-commander is Moskvin, a fiery officer who... What's that noise?
It is over. We won.
After freeing some bears and Tesla troopers, Oh, what is it now? Bears are built at the barracks. They're clearly infantry as well. And before you decry them as animals, be aware that humans are animals too. Anyways, using bears to stun and Natasha to gun, I reach the launch pad and have some fun. With the Empire repelled, it's time to retake Vladivostok. After landing my forces in my starting area, they proceed to get destroyed by Japanese mechs. Not to worry though, my ally can finish the job. They're not doing this challenge. Anyways, using the old parachute trick, I land forces to disable the naval base's generators. Afterwards, I push the northern base. While my infantry struggle against turrets, with the expert tactic of Molotovs, I eventually push into Prince Tatsu's compound. He activates a shield or whatever, and I destroy his palace. Meanwhile, J.K. Simmons does what any self-respecting American president does. Funnel arms into Europe to prop them up against the Russians. Anyways, it's time to take Geneva. I start in the water, and unfortunately, the Soviets can't swim, so using the expert tactic of moving my base next to my ally, I slowly take the Swiss banks. Unfortunately, the Allied Navy keeps bombing my structures, but using the expert tactic of spamming flak turrets, they stop being a problem. Eventually, I clear the southern base and bring in Krukov to save me. Scratch that, Krukov needs me to babysit him for a while before our armies finish off the remainder of the Allied base. Wait, what's that noise?
Not this time, American.
My next target is the Allied research facility at Mykonos, Greece. My co-commander is Xana, who revels in the beauty of war. Her actor was in... Pirates of the Caribbean? Now the problem with this mission was once again islands. Thankfully, with the tried and true tactic of dropping disposable troops on the enemy, I secure each mine. What's that? This isn't the start of the mission. I have to blow up a tech inhibitor to gain access to infantry without using infantry? Ridiculous. Anyways, the push is slow as the Allied Navy repeatedly bombs the expansions with their carriers. With the expert tactic of telling Xana to deal with them, while targeting down their shipyards, I whittle away at their naval forces. With the waterways open, I finish off the remaining defenses and secure the research facility. Afterwards, I gotta hold the structure for 6 minutes with depleting ore mines and a mob of infantry. Sounds doable. Despite heavy air and armor attacks, my forces hold out and secure the data. The next target is Von Eisling Air Base. If unprepared, it can quickly overwhelm a novice commander. First, I start off rich and facing 2 weak outposts. Then Krukov shows up and steals all my gold. Then Cherdenko says Krukov's a traitor and orders me to kill him. Then the battlefield expands as the rest of the Allied forces mobilize. Also, they have a giant cannon, so the key is to take out Krukov immediately. By building up an army near Krukov's bunker, I mow down his HQ right after he turns hostile, and capture his MCV to send it into his troops. Wait, do you hear that?
You did it, Mason. You did what I could not.
With the southern threat eliminated, I get back my gold and Krukov's mostly non-infantry army. Afterwards, I rush the cannon and neutralize it, finishing off the Allied forces. It's time to dethrone the Emperor. After losing most of my army landing at Mount Fuji, I infiltrate the palace and kill the Emperor.
Did you think it would be so easy to kill a god? You will bow for forgiveness before this is over.
Time for Plan B. After stalling the early attacks, I send my troops into more invincible turrets as more of the Imperial commanders deploy nearby. With progress stalling, I use the expert tactic of lowering the difficulty, allowing me to cheese Kenji by destroying his defenses early. With the odds evened out, I wipe out Shinzo and Naomi. After rescuing the assassin duo, I make a beeline for the Emperor's residence. He emerges in a mech which has developed the unique adaptation of being weak to lightning. With the setting of the sun, it's time to destroy the Allies. Luring them to Easter Island, we set up a trap for their diplomat. And by set up a trap, I mean spam sentry guns and let Xana deal with everything else. After wiping out their base in a doom drop, Cherdenko decides it's time to betray me by destroying me with a giant vacuum. To stop this, I use the expert tactic of letting my ally get punched in the face while I doom drop in the top right, allowing my forces to pick off the vacuum cleaner. Since I can't reach the Premier's base on the volcano with bullfrogs, and I don't want to risk Twin Blade shooting anything, I sit back and let Xana do all the work for me. With Cherdenko gone, the only threat left is the US. Time to attack New York. I start off in the southeast. There definitely isn't a segment where I have to destroy my enemies without infantry. Anyways, after setting up expansions in the ruins of Fort Bradley and keeping Moskvin from getting steamrolled, I use the expert tactic of doom dropping the enemy, punching a hole in their defenses and finishing off the Statue of Liberty. Time for the boring faction. In the Allied path, the Soviets are poised to invade the UK, and as you know, invading Britain is always a pain in the behind. The Soviets are targeting the city of Brighton. Starting with peacekeepers and war dogs, I quickly liberate the city and fortify the area. My co-commander is Giles, a proper fellow whose actor starred in Pirates of the Caribbean again. After gaining javelin troopers and engineers, I counter the Soviet armor and take the Ghostal batteries. Now before you object, these cannons are manned by engineers who come from the barracks. Sounds like infantry to me. While Krukov sends a final wave of airships, they're quickly downed by a mix of javelins and infantry-manned turrets. It's time to go on the offensive. My co-commander is Warren Fuller, a tough, no-nonsense fighter who is in fact a former MMA fighter. Landing at Cannes, France, I need to sabotage the Soviet fleet with Commando Tanya and my spies. Using spies to shut down the enemy defenses, I blow up the ports with Tanya. After clearing the path to Moskvin's base, I send a mob of peacekeepers, javelin troopers, and war dogs to finish the job. The next city is Heidelberg, Germany. My co-commander is Lisette, who's an adorable badass. Her actor was in a bunch of Hallmark films. Thought I've seen her before. Unfortunately, I do need to use these non-infantry hydrofoils to escort our MCVs at the start of the mission. But otherwise, infantry do the job just fine. Peacekeepers, javelin launchers, war dogs, and Tanya. I commence the attack, get clapped by Zax, but breach their back. Unfortunately, it's anime time. With the Empire striking back, I need to work with the Soviets to halt the advance at Gibraltar. After working with Moskvin and Natasha to disable the Air Force, I build up a force nearby to seize the fleet. While my reward is these useless destroyers, I do get a free base. While the Empire tries to attack our rear through the expert tactic of letting Moskvin do all the work, I finish off the remaining targets with Tanya, ending the mission. With Gibraltar secured, it's time to open the North Sea. To this end, I disable the enemy's radar ships with spies and Tanya, with backup from Natasha and Soviet engineers. There definitely isn't a segment where I have to protect a salvage ship without infantry. Anyways, after securing the nearby island, I use the expert tactic of letting Xana deal with their ships while I build up a force of peacekeepers and javelins to doom drop the fortress, and they're all gone. Alright, Plan D. Since I only need to capture the 2 power cores, I doom drop 2 separate groups of engineers, capturing both of them before the Imperial forces can gun my engineers down. Bad news. President Simmons isn't happy that we're working with the commies, so he aims a weapon at Moscow. To stop him, I destroy the comms tower to keep him from sending the launch codes. I can't take him out since the weapon will fire if he retires from living, so I need to destroy the launch base before he can reach it. While I try the fabled bribery tactic on his limo, it appears to have been patched out. So I go with the old-fashioned tactic of freezing his car while pushing with Peacekeeper's javelins and Tanya. Now some might call it cheating to be dropping ice on an infantry-only run, but I find infantry pretty cool, so it's thematically relevant. Whenever Simmons activates more weapons on Mount Rushmore, I drop in engineers to disable them. Eventually, Tanya reaches the base and blows it up. President tries to escape, but a wall of infantry shoot him down. Okay, fine, I went back and did it without the cryo shot. It's still pretty doable. It's time to finish the Empire. All of their higher-ups are meeting in Tokyo under heavy guard, but a combined Allied-Soviet attack could prove decisive. After failing to destroy the Imperial blockade with dolphins, the Soviets leave us to die. The base is destroyed and I'm forced to beat the Empire alone. Well, alone with Lizette. After struggling to push on the mainland, I restart and rebuild the starting area while warping Lizette to the front. This allows us to pincer the enemy, with Lizette taking the mainland while I doom drop on them. Tatsu sends a fleet to counterattack, but using the expert tactic of staying out of the water, I lure his battleships to the coast and destroy them with javelins. It takes many waves to finish off Japan, but the remaining targets are destroyed, ending the mission. John Wick Dedication Man reveals that the Soviets traveled back in time to survive and allowed the Empire to exist. He also reveals that they plan to launch an attack from their base in Havana, Cuba. To counter this, I infiltrate the base and bribe the enemy infantry. The enemy tries to launch their airships, but through the expert tactic of spamming the same 2 units I've been using for the past 7 missions, I destroy each stadium. The final stadium is on an island, but with another doom drop, I finish it off. The Soviets are making a last stand in Leningrad.
For this, I'm sending everything I've got at you. But I won't let you have the satisfaction of catching me. I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
That one didn't age quite so well.
To break through, I build a force of shotgun boys and RPGs. There definitely isn't the segment where I need to use Mirage tanks to clear the area. Anyways, the fight is tough, with the Soviets bringing twin blades, dreadnoughts, and Kirov airships to hammer my infantry. Using airdrops to reinforce my army, I destroy each Iron Curtain. I also take advantage of my ally not doing the challenge, allowing me to fire a collider shot on the western side of the city. After doom dropping the final Iron Curtain, I drop Tanya with a small squad of infantry and blow up the launch building, preventing Tim Curry from going to space. Time for the Empire, or a sanitized weeb version of Imperial Japan. As with the Soviet campaign, George Takei wants to conquer Russia. Our first target is Vorkuta, a cultural center and naval base celebrating New Year's. So we honorably attack during the party. My co-commander is Shinzo, a very honorable commander whose actor was in Mortal Kombat? Oh, the TV series. Still cool. After sneaking past the Soviet defenses, I land a team of Imperial warriors to disable a generator. There totally isn't a second generator that can't be reached by infantry. Ridiculous! After landing tank busters, I topple the statues to damage morale. After deploying shinobi to infiltrate the base, I clear the way for the Soviet fleet. While I'm supposed to use subs to destroy the navy using the expert tactic of letting my ally do all the work, I sit back for the rest of the mission. The next target is Stalingrad.
My name is Kenji, and I will protect you as best I can.
Oh, by all means. His actor was in Justice League. Sorry, I don't know these other films. With the expert tactic of letting Kenji do all the work, the MCVs land without my Tengus firing a shot. Afterwards, with a mix of Imperial warriors, tank busters, and shinobi, I take down each monument. My infantry can't shoot up, so when enemy twin blades drop in, I use the expert tactic of letting Kenji deal with them. With the city secured, the Imperial transports can use the river to deploy the invasion force. To defend them, I scatter mobs of infantry near the bridges and send Kenji to deal with any enemy air units, ending the mission. With Stalingrad secure, it's time to take Odessa. Crown Prince Tatsu's cooked up a surprise for the Soviets. His actor played Scorpion. Cool. Unfortunately, I have to use these non-infantry choppers to escort the parts for Tatsu's weapon. Kenji doesn't have the firepower at the start to deal with my problems for me. Nevertheless, the weapon is unleashed. While the Shogun Executioner may be a mech, since it's shaped like a person, it sounds pretty infantry to me. The rest of the mission is a one-sided stomp. The Executioner destroys everything on the ground, with only air units and rockets being a threat. The expert tactic of using shockwaves to clear the city. Odessa falls. Unbeknownst to the Empire, the Allies are launching a sneak attack on their base at Pearl Harbor.
Ironic.
To defend it, I use a mix of Imperial warriors and tank busters. Obviously they can't shoot up, and Naomi has her own areas to defend. Her actress was in General Hospital. I'm not sure what that is, but it sounds cool. As per the rules, I'll use defender cores with anti-air mode only. To ensure a constant stream of reinforcements, I build barracks everywhere to ensure my mobs can take out any drops or landings. Eventually, reinforcements arrive, and the mission ends. That's definitely the end of the mission. There totally isn't a segment where I have to destroy this insanely strong base with ships and planes. Ridiculous. Surprise! The Allies used the attack on Pearl Harbor as a diversion to head for Tokyo. The only thing stopping them is the Black Tortoise, a floating fortress in the Pacific. I start off with a handful of rocket angels. There definitely isn't a segment in this mission that forces me to use ships. Trust me, the good thing about rocket angels is that they can shoot up and fly, meaning I finally have a tool to deal with enemy air units and take out naval bases. While the southern base is heavily defended by anti-air turrets, the eastern bases have no such protection. After blasting through them, I use the expert tactic of sniping the enemy's construction yard, preventing them from rebuilding. Then I let Naomi breach and finish off their buildings. With the Pacific clear, it's time to invade Hollywood. To win the hearts and minds of the American people, we must broadcast Imperial propaganda. I start off making a force of Imperial warriors, tank busters, and rocket angels. There definitely isn't a segment where I have to secure a beachhead with cannons. Anyways, after capturing an airport, I'm forced to hunker down for several minutes while my base is hit with repeated counterattacks. Afterwards, I blitzkrieg the enemy bases and clear the map of all remaining enemies. The stations are captured, and the Weeb Revolution begins. As it turns out, fate is not predestined. Using their spy robo J.K. Simmons, the Empire discovers that the timeline was changed by the Soviets going back and erasing Einstein. The Emperor has an existential crisis, so he hands command to Tatsu. The Allies and Soviets are launching an attack on Yokohama Harbor. With the psychic Yuriko and our King Onis, retaking the bases shouldn't be too hard. Oh, what is it now? King Onis are clearly shaped like samurai. They're just infantry in suits. Anyways, the start of the mission is rough with heavy air and naval attacks, but through the expert tactic of letting my ally do all the work and picking off the enemy carriers with Yuriko, we hold until reinforcements arrive. The Soviets move in to counter us, but with the expert tactic of spamming rocket angels, the enemy falls. With the alliance destroyed, Tatsu moves on Moscow, using a mix of Imperial warriors and tank busters to fend off counterattacks. The Shogun Executioner returns. Now some may decry me for using a machine in an infantry-only run. I mean, sure, it's shaped like a person, but it's clearly a mech. But I can't hear you over all the fun I'm having. After forgetting to destroy the time machine at the end, I reload and either shockwave it from the sky or Kenji shoots it down. A win is a win. With the Soviets defeated, only the Allies remain. Moving on to Amsterdam, I need to neutralize the Allied airbase. With a mix of King Onis, Imperial warriors, tank busters, rocket angels, and Yuriko, I push through. I do take a while to depower the colliders, so my base gets blown up a few times. But eventually, I beat the Allies and the surviving Soviet division. Peter Stamrare tries to blow everyone up, but using the survivors, we destroy future tech and secure victory. Congratulations, Commander. This challenge is absolutely impossible. There's too many missions that need ships and planes to move infantry, and too many missions that require me to use non-infantry for at least one segment. But how many can be done in total? Keep in mind that missions which require boats and planes for transport will be counted as successes, provided that those transports don't shoot anything. For the Soviet campaign, 6 out of 9 missions can be done with infantry for combat. For the Allied campaign, it's 6 out of 9 as well. And finally, 4 out of 9 Imperial missions can be done with infantry for combat. This leaves a grand total of 16 out of 27 missions, 59%. Obviously, the game is skewed against using infantry for too long, with many missions encouraging ships, planes, and tanks. The fact that mechs can simply run over foot soldiers is also pretty telling. Nevertheless, it was worth experimenting to see how far a pure infantry composition could go. Remember, pepperoni. Shoutouts to Time, Clytus Marino, Abby Akra, Jen Tuong, and Michael Phillips for supporting the channel. You get
Destiny.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and use rockets to escape to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Welcome back, Commander. I was really looking forward to continuing the Red Alert 3 series. I'm actually quite blown away by how competent the co-commanders are, or the fact that mineral nodes don't run out after a few seconds. I'm really looking forward to the changes made in Uprising. Wait, what? You're kidding me. Well, what am I supposed to look forward to?
Put down your arms, Commander. This battle is over.
Oh, Malcolm McDowell.
First I lift them, then I throw them.
Okay. You have my interest.